Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna write a COBOL program that reads a CSV file. CSV is a comma separated file, and it's a very common data source, and it's interesting to learn how we can manipulate those files and manipulate data in COBOL. Before we start, I'm using a dev container here in VS Code. I'll leave the link below, so all you need to have installed locally is VS Code and Docker, and you can run this container and write and run your COBOL programs. Okay, so to start with, I have this CSV file. It's very simple. It's just test data, and we have here record ID, the name of a person. Here we have the race and their address. So this is the CSV file that we are going to use for this program. I already started here just the initial boilerplate, and we have here for the identification division, program ID is called OneRing CSV. And in the environment division, we have the input and output section. We have the file control. Because we are going to take this file from outside this program, we need to define this here. So all I have here is a select, and I'm using this variable name file source and to be the internal name of the variable that will control my file. And I have here assigned to external. I want to talk about this. It's just because I want to pass the actual file name. So in this case, it would be this one here, this file name here. I want to pass this on the command line when I compile and invoke my program. So this gives a little more flexibility. If the file name changes, if you change version, you don't need to come into the source code here, but you could just as well replace and hard code the file name here. It would work the same way. So as I said, I'm using the external, and this is going to be the keyword here to link my external file name with my internal file name. And here we say the organization of the file is Line Sequential. This is just some COBOL lingo to make things work properly. So, okay, so next we are going to go to data division. It's already suggesting me good. And we are going to define the file section here. So, I worked with this program here before, and I want to show you some things that we can do and then don't work really well, and what we can do to fix it. I'll get there. So, file definition, we're going to call this, we are going to say that this is our file source, like we defined here above, it's our internal file name. Then we start to define what this file is going to look like. So top level definition, let's call it file record line, because we'll go by lines. And inside this line, let's look at the file. What kind of variables do we need to define here? So each line has a ID, like I said, and then there is a name, and it has the race here and the address. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of variables. So let's call it this one the file source rec ID. And this is going to be, let's make it a type integer, and it has 4 spaces there. The next one is the file source name. This is going to be a alphanumeric. And now here it's interesting, we should have a rough idea of how long this file could be. We have a variety here. Some are just one name. I'm gonna go with a 20 here, and let's see how that works for us. Next we have the file source race, and again we have to take a educated guess here about how much space we need. Let's go with maybe 6. And next we have address. Let's put city. Okay. And again, a guess here. Let's do 15. Okay, now that we have all our specific file information here defined, we can go to the working storage section. Since we're going to read this file, I like to have some flags defined that will help with managing the file reading process. So what I like to do here is a working storage end of file. It's just really a flag. Let's put alphanumeric, just a one place. Oh, sorry, 1. And let's start with the value of no. So it's end of file, no to start with. So this is our definition. Okay, so for data, I think we're good. We can move on to the procedure revision. So I'm just gonna copy here, line, make a little bit more organized. All right, so procedure division. That's where our logic is gonna go. And let's define a 3, 4. Let's define a main section here, just to give some structure. And I'll just save space here, put an end here. We know. So our logic is gonna be called inside here. Let me move this. Okay. So what does our program needs to do? First, we will need to read a file. So let's call it through a routine here. The first one is going to be read file, and I like to have a finalize, something that we can call at the very end, just to make sure that we're closing everything, cleaning up everything. So let's do this 999 finalize, and we are going to define these ones soon. Okay, it's screaming at me because there is nothing. All right, let us start with the read file. Let's put some separation here. Read file, we start here on this, and we can call 0001 read file section. Let's give just some space here just to make it easier to read. Okay, what does this we need to do here? So first we need to open our record. So let's do open input file, and then we called it file source, right? And now we're going to enter in a loop because we're going to read line by line, so we need a loop there, and this is where our flag for end of file comes to help us. So perform until our flag end of file turns into Y. So, and then I'll just put the end perform here so I don't forget. Perform. Okay, so our logic goes inside here. We say read the file source. Oops. Into our file record line. So we will break the data from the file source into the file record line because we defined which fields we are expecting from this file, right? Then we can say at end, meaning at end of the file, we are going to move Y to our end of file flag. But if we're not at the end, so not, I'm missing a space here. Let's do this. Not and we are gonna call just another section here just to do some display separately. I don't want to put a lot of displays here, but we could just for test here. So let's call it display lines. Okay, and perform, and then we need a dot here, and let's also copy this here, just make a little bit prettier. Okay, so we have the read file here, so it's already finding this one. For the finalize, let me copy this. I have somewhere else here. It's easier just to copy. Don't need to type everything. So it's the same thing. It's another section here. I define with this 999 section, and I just call close file because we opened the file here, and then we display some line ends just to make it cleaner. Okay. Oh, I realized that I need another dot here. There you go. Now, let's save this one. Oh, this one's not in the right spot. Okay, now we have here what these two are fine. We are only missing this one here. Let's copy this line and write this one. What we are displaying here? A display lines section. Oh, very simple. Let me just finish here the copy. There we go, just a separation. And what we're gonna say, display, let's just display the ID. And what did we call the ID? Is fs rec ID. Okay, fs rec ID. Good. And then display, let's display the name. What was it called? Fs name. Okay. And we need to end with a dot here. Okay, so it looks like we don't have red lines here. Great. Let's compile and run this file. So I'm using, so we will compile this file, one ring.cbl, and because I need to pass my file, the CSV file name, we're gonna define like this. We're going to say that the file in equals and then the file name that we have there. So Lord of the Rings.csv, and then we will invoke the executable. So let's see how that goes. Alright, so we have our file here, and we're displaying ID 001, which is fine, but we have a problem here. We have, for the name, we have all kinds of information, and it's really reading how many bytes we defined here for name, 20. So it goes as a line, it goes and grabs the next 20, and this is really not what we want. The ID is 4 bytes, but then later it goes all confused, right? So is there a better way to do this? And there is a function that we can use to help us with this. There are not many changes in this file that we need to do, just a few. So let's go and fix that. The file control definition here doesn't need to change. The first thing that we are going to change is this file record line. Instead of having all these variables defined here, we are going to move those out. But here we are only going to define what a single line of the file as one piece. So let's call it sorry, that's not, I need to, we can do this here. File record line, we can call it in just one piece. Let's do it here. Oh, I don't have it here. It's going to be an alphanumeric, and it will have 50 space. Let's just make sure that that is enough. So we see that the longest line here is this one, and it comes up to 40 columns. So 50 is pretty safe for this file for now. And there's one other data that we can add here. So we can say that the file definition is the file source, and we can say the record contains 50 characters, and then we end this. So these two lines are going to say, okay, treat this file line as one piece, and we're going to take care of the definitions down below. So these here, they are all going to move. I'm gonna cut and copy and paste from here. They're going to move to the working storage area because they are going to be just part of the execution part. Let's fix this for now, and we can call it here a record, say, separator. So now we have the we're going to use a separator to spread the same information that we had before. We don't need to change the size. Let's just remove fs because it's not file source anymore. It's just, oh, okay, so that's let's call it full name. This is a reserved word, so let's call it full name. Okay, and now we have to fix in the display first. So record, and this is full name. Now, okay, what else needs to change? So the logic here to read this file, we need to change slightly because we need to use that other function. So we still open the file the same way. Before we get into the loop, we make sure that our variables are all set properly. So we need to move spaces into the file record line. And then we also move spaces, it's not into, it's to the record separator. Make sure they are all good to go. Okay, so we still are going to have a loop here that we perform until we find the end of the file. We still read the file source into the file record line. At the end, we are still going to move to the move the Y into the R flag, but not the end. Before we display, we are going to say UNSTRING, and this is the extra function. This is something from COBOL. You just call it. We are going to unstring the file record line, and we are going to delimited. We're going to say how we are going to break the line apart, how we are going to split the line. So delimited by, and it's a comma because that's how we have our files here. If you had any other type of delimitation, that's where you define here. And we are going to unstring that into what? Into the separators that we created here. So let's call them rec ID. Okay, the other one is full name. The other one was race, and then we also had city. Okay, so if the file is at the end, we just move the flag and we exit off the loop. But if it's not at the end, we're going to take that one line, the file record line. We are going to split on each comma into these variables that we defined here before. And then we end the loop and we display this information, and we finalize and close the file and display our little end thingy here. Okay, so let's run this again. Let me make this a little bit larger, put some spacing here, and see if we fix this problem with the name. So compiling and running, and here we go. Now we have really a clean output. So we have the ID and the name. Doesn't matter how long is the name or how short, it's just broken apart and split really in the comma. So yeah, so here we have it. This is a very simple display. Next time we can make something more interesting and create another file to report this and whatnot. But this is it for today. I hope you learned something new. Let me know if you changed the program, and yeah, we'll talk to you next time.